This is Action 10 News at 10.
And we thank you for joining us. I'm Andy Lascano. Boy, this weekend and the hot weather has me thinking about the lyrics of a Bob Marley song. Goes something like this: the sun is shining, the weather is sweet. I would say our weather is pretty hot this early in the year. So what do you say we check in with meteorologist Bill Alexander, find out what's going on? Bill, tell us.
Hey, good evening, folks. Doppler radar showing what we've seen all day long. No precipitation out there, but we are looking at temperatures still in the middle 90s, dew point around 80 degrees. It's brutally hot out there, and we're still looking at heat index values deep into the triple digits. So be careful out there, folks, even this evening. Now, we're going to see temperatures only drop down to around the upper 70s and be near 90 degrees by 11 a.m. Now, these heat index values right now are in the 115-degree range. Will be back up again tomorrow, and no real chance of rain coming up the next week. So be prepared for hot, hazy, and humid and dry conditions, and be prepared to take care of yourself.
All right, Bill, we'll look forward to it. During times of this extreme heat, it's important to be able to recognize the symptoms of heat-related illnesses. There are three main types: heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. Heat cramps are muscle pains or spasms in your stomach, arms, or legs. So what you want to do is go to a cooler location and take off excess clothing. Heat exhaustion causes the heavy sweating, paleness, and muscle cramps and dizziness or vomiting. What you want to do there is go to an air-conditioned place, remove clothing, or take a cool bath if you have these symptoms. How about heat stroke? Well, that can cause an internal body temperature of 103 degrees, rapid pulse, red skin, dizziness, or confusion. If you have these symptoms, call 911 and try to cool your body in any way you can. Now, there were at least 279 heat-related deaths in Texas last year. Liz Gillenwater knows firsthand how dangerous the heat can be. Her husband suffered heat stroke 6 years ago, and it, well, pretty nearly took his life.
The doctor who worked on him said that that day they remember his case because it was all hands on deck. Even like administrators or were helping to get him situated and get him worked on. When they found him and the ambulance, the EMS worked on him, his core temperature had gotten almost to 108 degrees.
So the best way to protect yourself from the heat is to stay inside a cool location. If you have to be outdoors, stay hydrated, wear loose-fitting clothing, wear light-colored clothing, and don't forget, use sunscreen. Now, the heat could be hard to escape for some, like those experiencing homelessness. Jennifer, who has been experiencing homelessness for more than 10 years, doesn't feel entirely comfortable using the public cooling centers. Instead, Jennifer told us she tries to find shade and drink water to endure the hot weather. But year-round, heat isn't the only severe weather homeless have to adapt to.
Last time when the hurricane hit Corpus, when it was all when the power went out. Yeah, I was out here when it was all raining. Yeah, it was raining.
What did you do?
I had to stay covered. Try to stay covered with no rain.
Well, there are locals who, like Marilena Garza, who try to help in any way they can. She's the founder of the nonprofit Free Store Corpus Christi, which helps people get essential items like clothing, food, and hygiene supplies. Today, Reliant Energy kicked off their 14th annual Beat the Heat initiative. Beat the Heat is a program that opens 4 cooling centers to seniors and vulnerable residents while also giving them a chance to socialize. So today, Reliant also provided 100 Arctic air coolers to help residents battle this summer heat.
What they're intended to do is a free, safe place for people to come during the hot summer days. In addition to coming here and being able to, be cool, you can reduce electricity usage at home during those hot summer days.
So anyone within Texas who needs help paying their electricity bill this summer can call 211 or visit 211texas.org. You know, a situation the troubleshooters are asked about many times during these hot South Texas days is, my AC is out and the landlord won't or hasn't fixed it. We spoke with Judge Joe Benavides about this. He says the landlord is not required to provide AC unless it's agreed to and written into the lease agreement signed by both you and them. Keep in mind, the judge says this isn't state law, but the only way it can be enforced is if it's written into the lease and signed. Okay, What happens if it's agreed to on the lease, but the landlord doesn't fix it? Can the tenant get out of the lease? Not necessarily, according to the judge. If the landlord has gone to all lengths to get the AC repaired, but it still doesn't get done, the tenant can sign a petition for a remedy hearing in court. If the landlord agrees to provide AC, expect your rent to go up to cover the increase in the landlord's energy bill. That's according to Judge Benavides. There is tragic news out of Aransas Pass tonight. Police Chief Eric Blanchard has confirmed that a young girl has died after falling into the Aransas Pass pool. Just before 2:30 this afternoon, a girl about 10 or 11 years old fell into the water and was noticed to be unresponsive or needing help. She was pulled from the water by at least 2 lifeguards who started CPR on her immediately. She was then transported to a nearby hospital where she later died. We are working to get more information and more updates for you. We will keep you posted on air and online at KZTV10.com. Former President Donald Trump is preparing to make his first court appearance following the 37-count indictment related to his handling of classified documents. Christian Benavides is in Miami, where security preparations are underway ahead of Tuesday's arraignment.
Supporters cheered as former President Donald Trump arrived at his Doral golf course ahead of his federal court appearance in Miami Tuesday.
There's no doubt in my mind that this is a political persecution.
Trump has called for his supporters to come to Miami. Mayor Francis Suarez says his city can handle protests related to Trump's arraignment.
Believe in the Constitution and believe that people should have the right to express themselves, but we also believe in law and order.
Multiple law enforcement officials tell CBS News online rhetoric calling for violence has increased in the wake of the indictment. Law enforcement agencies are combing through the posts looking for potential threats. So far, no credible, specific threat has been identified.
I can't speak for everyone, but I'm going to do everything I can humanly possibly do that's legal before a civil war, because that's what you guys are heading for.
Trump maintains he is innocent, and he is using the case to raise money in his bid to get back to the White House.
I mean, the only good thing about it is it's driven my poll numbers way up. Can you believe that?
The latest CBS News poll taken after the indictment shows Trump gaining ground on his competitors among likely GOP primary voters, and his challengers seem to be walking a fine line responding to the allegations.
This case is a serious case with serious allegations, but in America, you're still innocent until proven guilty.
Trump plans to fly back to New Jersey Tuesday for a fundraiser after he leaves court. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Doral, Florida.
Well, 38% of likely Republican primary voters say Trump keeping classified or military documents does not pose a national security risk. That compares to 80% of the rest of the voters in that particular survey. J.P. Morgan Chase reached a tentative settlement with the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. In a lawsuit, sexual abuse victims accused the bank of enabling Epstein's sex trafficking operation by allowing massive withdrawals over a 15-year period when Epstein was a client. Sources say J.P. Morgan will pay about $290 million to the victims. The agreement requires court approval. Wildfires raging across Canada could burn all summer long. That's the new warning from the federal agency Natural Resources Canada. Officials are forecasting above normal fire activity across most of the country through September. More than 400 wildfires are burning in Canada right now. The 21st century race back to the moon has a new twist. We're going to tell you about some plans to launch a fleet of lunar landers on the moon's surface when we come back.
South Texas is a beautiful place we call home. That's why we love showing you the best beaches to take your family, exciting events coming to the Bend, must-see attractions, and so much more. Watch Coastal Living weekdays at 4 on KZTV.
You're watching Action 10 News at 10.
Well, would you look at that? You're looking at hundreds of dead fish washing ashore at Bryan Beach in Brazoria County, south of Houston. The heat wave we've been experiencing taking a major toll on menhaden fish who have not been able to adapt to the swift rise in water temperatures over the last few weeks. Parks and wildlife officials are not sure how long this issue might last, and the county says they'll continue to clean up their beaches as it happens. In this commercial era of space, entrepreneurs across the country and even here in Texas are over the moon about the possibilities. One emerging market, sending cargo to an address 250,000 miles away. Mark Strassman shows us why the moon is quickly becoming the next economic frontier in space, if you can stick the landing.
When Intuitive Machines went public in February, NASDAQ's bell also rang as a reminder that space is now big business.
This is Mission Control.
Steve Altimus intends to deliver cargo to the moon. He's co-founder and CEO of Intuitive Machines in Houston.
We're delivering scientific payloads, engineering demonstration payloads, but not the humans themselves.
You believe the moon is the next economic frontier?
It's within our grasp. Let's go get it.
10 miles to go.
Nothing American-made has touched lunar dust since Apollo 17, more than a half-century ago.
Hey, Houston, the Challenger has landed.
But NASA intends to return astronauts there in a program called Artemis. And Altimus envisions a lunar delivery market with major customers like NASA, private companies, and scientists.
This is it. This is the assembly room.
His company's building a fleet of lunar landers. Its goal? Annual launches to delivery addresses 250,000 miles away. The first, called Nova C, aims to carry cargo to the moon's south pole later this summer.
Lunar services. That's about $100 billion market. And so it was enough for us to say, we're all in.
If Intuitive Machines is the FedEx or UPS of the space delivery market, think of Astrobotic in Pittsburgh as the DHL, which happens to be one of its partners and customers.
This is the lander.
John Thornton is Astrobotic's CEO. He gave us a peek at the company's first lander called Peregrine. We watched them attach the final major piece, the propulsion system.
We're trying to maximize the capacity, the performance of the vehicle.
Its first mission will carry 21 payloads to the lunar surface.
Right now, NASA is the primary customer. Over time, we see commercial coming online in a bigger way.
Peregrine can carry roughly 100 pounds of cargo. Griffin, its second lander, much bigger, can carry 10 times that, delivering this water-hunting NASA rover. But remember, space is unforgiving. Thornton tells his customers delivery is absolutely, positively not guaranteed.
All we can promise our customers is we are putting everything we possibly can into these missions to make them as safe and successful as they can be.
NASA plans to spend $2.6 billion over the next decade buying delivery services. In all, 14 different American companies are building lunar landers.
Right now, we have routine, regular access to the skies. I think by decade's end, we'll have routine, regular access to the moon.
High risk, high reward for any company creating space in this emerging market. Mark Strassman, CBS News.
Stay with us because Bill's coming up with his full forecast next here on Action 10 News at 10.
Get the latest news whenever you want with the Action 10 News app. The troubleshooters, kitchen cops, news and weather from the coastal bend and around the world. And watch Action 10 News live. Download the Action 10 News app today. Now, your Doppler 10 weather forecast.
Well, we've been seeing the news, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. These are extreme heat safety rules. Wear light-colored, loose-fitting clothes, wear a hat when you can, and move into air conditioning whenever possible. And especially, folks, look out for the elderly, the chronically ill, very young, and watch out for your pets. Make sure everybody is safe from this extreme heat. Now, this is what it looks like on the satellite radar loop, and you're seeing very little in the way of clouds out there, some coastal waters, cloud material, and that's it. Marine forecast for tomorrow, even out there, it's going to be nearly 90 degrees. Mostly sunny, windy, very warm, and the water temperature is sitting in the middle 80s. Look for that south wind, though, really picking up at 20 to 25 knots. It's going to make for choppy bays and 4 to 6 foot seas. The rip current risk will be low, but small craft should be exercising caution out there. Now, future track, well, you're not going to see much out there. By early Tuesday morning, you will see some low clouds over the northern portions of the area, but no fog out there. The wind's going to be too strong, and overnight tonight only dropping into the middle to upper 70s most locations, lower 80s along the coastal zones, and that wind is the part of the reason there. With all that moisture and being whipped across the area at 13 to 25 miles an hour, you're not going to drop down much. In fact, tomorrow, a scorcher again. Starting off, upper 70s to lower 80s, quickly surging into the middle to upper 90s by mid to late afternoon. With heat index values, well, you can see your high temperatures upper 90s to triple digits, especially in the inland areas. Look at these heat index values, 112, 114, 117 tomorrow. Wednesday, yeah, more the same. Thursday, it's going to be just right in that same ballpark, so no real relief. And the reason is this upper level high that's hanging around here, and it's not moving. And all the energy for showers and thunderstorms is traversing well across the central plains. We see one little disturbance comes into the state on Thursday night, but that's going to stay well to our north as well because of this upper level high pressure is just locked in place and shutting down any chance for rain or relief from the heat. In fact, if you look at this high-resolution model over the next week, a lot of goose eggs out there, no precipitation anticipated. So here's what it looks like. Tonight, partly cloudy, windy, humid, 78 overnight tonight with a south-southeast wind at 14 to 26 miles an hour. And I can't stress this enough. Dangerous heat and humidity for the next week. Heat index values 100 to 110 to 118 degrees with highs from the upper 90s to low triple digits air temperature and overnight temperatures only in the upper 70s to lower 80s. What's dangerous about this is not only do you have extreme heat and humidity during the daytime, but overnight it stays warm and humid, and there's not much relief from that extreme heat. So follow those extreme heat safety rules, folks. Be very careful with yourself. Hydrate ahead of time so you don't feel dried out, because when you do and you're outdoors, it's too late. So be careful and have a good evening.
All right, Bill, thanks. Several folks in Port Aransas are saying they're concerned about coyotes wandering around their neighborhoods. They say this could be a potential threat for their family and pet safety. Scott Burrows, the police chief for Port A, confirmed that there have been incidents of coyote attacks. So here are his tips to be safe.
If you avoid taking your pet for a walk, particularly if they're small, you know, little dogs, particularly around sunrise or sunset, then that would reduce the chance of an encounter.
The chief also said the island is the home of a lot of wildlife, so he doesn't believe it's a big issue. We just have to learn to share our environment. A historic and miraculous story of survival out of Colombia, how 4 children survived after a plane crash and 40 days out in the jungle. When we come back.
You're watching Action 10 News at 10.
A miraculous discovery in the Colombian jungle after 4 children were found alive Friday after weeks on their own. The only survivors of a deadly plane crash. Search and rescue teams and the children's family never gave up hope. Laura Aguirre now on how the children survived and what finally led rescuers to them.
The cry of a baby made this moment possible. Rescuers finding 4 siblings in the Colombian jungle Friday, miraculously alive, 40 days after a plane crash that killed their mother, who was a local indigenous tribal leader, and the pilot. The oldest, 13, the younger ones, ages 9, 4, and an infant, that turned 1 while in the jungle.
When the plane crashed, they took out the tapioca flour, and with that they survived. And after the tapioca flour was over, they began to eat seeds.
The children's families say the kids were raised on learning how to survive off the jungle environment.
We are indigenous people. I believe in the jungle, which is our mother. And that's why I've always kept the faith and would say that both the jungle and nature have never betrayed me.
Medical reports show the children are recovering from dehydration and can't yet eat solid food. But Colombia's defense minister says they are out of danger. The children told officials at one point they encountered a Belgian shepherd in the jungle who stayed with them for several days. Officials believe it was Wilson, a special forces search dog that went missing May 18th. On Monday, the Colombian army tweeted pictures they say were drawn by the rescued children, thanking the soldiers and the still missing Wilson for their efforts. The children are expected to continue their recovery in a Bogota hospital for the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Colombian Special Forces General Pedro Sanchez told reporters that they never leave an element behind, and that includes Wilson. The search for the dog continues.
I'm John Matarese. What works and what doesn't work when it comes to stopping the spread of mosquitoes in your yard? I'll tell you why more and more people are turning to the pros. That story coming up.
You're watching Action 10 News at 10.
There are hundreds of products and services that claim to keep mosquitoes away from your home, but what actually works? Well, tonight, consumer reporter John Matarese looks at when it's worth paying extra for mosquito prevention so you don't waste your money.
Too many mosquitoes in your yard can really ruin a summer evening. And while a lot of people use sprays and candles as simple solutions, more and more homeowners these days are turning to the pros.
We spray all the bushes, shrubs, trees.
Debbie Meyer offers hope to desperate homeowners like Luke Stokebrand.
Usually about 7 o'clock, we'd have to go inside because we were getting chewed up by mosquitoes.
So he called the local franchise of Mosquito Joe. And Debbie's crew got to work to make this yard usable again.
We not only kill mosquitoes, but we're also going to get rid of ticks and fleas for you as well.
Kevin Brassler with Consumers Checkbook says hiring help to knock down the mosquito population is generally effective. But he warns it's not a one-and-done treatment. For smaller yards, treatments range from about $50 to $150 every 3 weeks. For a larger yard, $75 to $200 per treatment.
Try to keep the window where they're spraying to a minimum. Because, I mean, they start spraying in April and May in some communities, and they don't really need to start that early.
Kevin, meantime, says keep using sprays and citronella candles on days with little to no wind. When it comes to other products, though, he says many are a case of don't waste your money.
They promise to use sounds or use wristbands and other types of approaches, and by and large, those things, they just don't work.
Instead, drain standing water from buckets, pools, or bird baths where mosquitoes lay eggs. Clean your gutters and stay inside in the early morning and evening when mosquitoes are most active. If mosquitoes are still out of control, call a pro like Debbie.
People can sit out, they can enjoy their yards that they've invested so much money in.
And that way you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese.
All right, John, good suggestion as always. How about this? Raise your glass. There's a new study that shows alcohol reduces stress and could lower the risk of stroke. The study was published in the Journal of American College of Cardiology. Researchers found that people who had 1 to 14 drinks a week, well, they were less likely to have a heart attack or stroke than those who had less than 1 drink per week, even after adjusting for genetic, lifestyle, and other risk factors. But researchers also found any amount of drinking raised the risk of cancer, so finding alternative methods to reduce stress is important. All right, stay right there because Bill is going to give us another look at his weather forecast. I think he's going to say it's going to be hot, but let's hear what he has to say when we come back.
You're watching Action 10 News at 10.
All right, one more time, folks. Partly cloudy, windy, and humid this evening. Temperatures dropping out of the 90s through the 80s into the upper 70s briefly tomorrow morning with that south-southeast wind at 14 to 26 miles an hour. Back into the upper 90s tomorrow. Heat index values 110 to 115 or more, and then triple digits through the latter part of the week with dangerous heat index values each and every afternoon. Be careful out there, folks.
That's all our time for now. Remember now, Bill and I will see you right back here at 6:30 tomorrow night for more Action 10 News. Until then, have a good night and stay safe.